Hey, Donnie.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I am literally just running out of the car from
Oh,
traffic to get to this call.
wow. Yeah, you're on the West Coast, so you guys are just getting out of rush hour at this point, right?
Getting out, it's just beginning. Like I was talking to one of my managers, or talking to my manager earlier, and I'm like, dude, to not hit traffic in the Bay Area, you have to get out at like 2:30. I left my office at 4 o'clock, and it's what, 6:30?
Wow.
I know.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Me too. I was laughing the whole way over here. I called a bunch of friends, so we had a good old time.
Good, good. We had a lot of fun talking about doing this video too.
We did. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I was telling people about it all day today, and they were like, "That's the greatest title ever." It's like, it's a pretty good one. It's it.
Well, it is, and I was thinking about it, and it all boils down to one word. It's about image. We do
Mm,
all this stuff in the name of what we believe our image ought to be, right? So we're
yep.
all walking around trying to pretend we got our shit together, and then we're, behind the scenes going, okay, it's all falling apart. What do I do, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. That has been it slowly happened over time, the falling apart piece. But now when I look back on kind of my past couple of weeks, it's just like shit is just breaking left and right, and the plates are falling and dishes are everywhere. It's like forget
Yeah.
it.
Well, for anyone who's just joining us for the first time, so Donnie is the life maximizer. He's a leadership coach, he's a business coach, and we play a lot around relationship coaching and personal coaching as well. And I dabble in coaching and possibilities. So when we get together, all kinds of stuff happens. It's pretty magical. And so we're working on a program to help people who have a passion project and they're getting hung up somewhere and trying to bring that out into the world. And along the way, we laugh the whole time because it's all stuff that we deal with, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's our own stuff too, doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We just talked about this yesterday is like you can't pursue your passion and look pretty at the same time. It's very much a messy process, and it's a fun process, and I think for my in my own personal journey I'm just learning how to be okay with the messiness of it, and just saying, hey, this is what it looks like today, and I might not have an answer to give you, but I'm having fun in the process. So, yeah.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting, right? Because we are the one that some people come to and say, okay, we need help. So there's almost this inherent thing in coaching that we should look like we've got it figured out. So they go, oh yeah, that's the ones that have it figured out. But by the same token, we're also living it. So we have some stuff figured out, but it doesn't mean we don't fall into the same traps, right? As our clients, we just hopefully help each other out of it and catch ourselves a little quicker and have the tools at least to dig ourselves out of it, right? If we fall in the hole.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the process. You're a teacher just as much as you are a student, um, and sometimes it's easy for me to get into the teacher mode, and then I go into, oh yeah, the teacher needs to have their T's crossed and their I's dotted, and everything needs
Mhm.
to have some organization and order. And then the student part of me is like, wait, but I haven't learned how to do this yet. And so there's this, in some ways, there's this internal tug of war that's going on between um, the student and the teacher, and it's a very weird dance and difficult dance when you don't recognize that. But when you do, it's also a very beautiful thing because you can say, "Oh, today I'm wearing my student hat, and I'm learning a lot."
Today I'm impressed. So it's a day by the, for me it's like moment to moment, teacher student, teacher student, teacher student, and usually both at the same time, which is a really interesting dance, right?
Yeah.
Welcome, Lorraine, Sophia. I've seen some other people hop on through. If I missed you, welcome. Mike, I saw you came on. Oh, hang on, we got a comment here.
Okay.
So Bonnie says, for me, I found over time that the more my confidence grows in the subject matter, the less concerned I am with image management.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, the confidence also comes with saying, you know what, I don't have this shit all figured out either.
Yeah.
But here's what I've learned and how I've worked through it when it hits me that can help you. And I'm here to help you move through it easier, quicker, because having a coach is somebody to lean on and go, what do you see that I don't see? What do you, and what have you been through that maybe I haven't been through? So I think there's a lot of that. So like, what inspired this was we were actually talking about, are we really living our passion, or are we living what we believe we're supposed to be doing because that's where the money is, or that's where the image is, or that's where we've built so much there, we're just going to keep doing that. And so we're all kind of going through a shift where a deeper passion is nudging us, and are we honoring it, or are we just doing what we've always done because it's a lot of work to rebuild, or we've got stories around what it would look like to rebuild, right?
Yeah, I was just talking to a buddy about this because we were talking about traveling, and he was trying to figure out when he was going to be able to come out here. And we've been trying to plan this. We've been wanting to plan this trip, driving up the coast of California for maybe a year or so. And when he said something and he started talking about all of the trips that he had, I started reflecting about the trips that I have coming up or the places that I want to go for the remainder of the year. And what came to mind is, wow, I've wrapped my trips around my work versus wrapping my work around the trips that I want to take. And as soon as I gave myself permission to kind of play with that a little bit, it was like, no, I want to take a lot of trips, and work just happens to fit into that that framework.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool new place to explore because it means that, for me anyway, it means that I'm putting my life and my joy back at the center of my experience versus my work at the center of my experience.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. So this program that we're having so much fun putting together, and we think it's going to be just fun to come hang out and play together and what's your passion and how to live it. That's that's really what I keep coming back to, is like the foundation. When we know who we are and what we really want, when we give ourselves the time and the space to come home to ourselves and go, okay, what is it I really want? Who am I really outside of all these roles I've been playing and all these things that I think I have to do? When we start to get clear and give ourselves the time and space and permission to really get real about what we want our life to look like, what we want our relationships to look like, and then, like you say, build the business, build the life around what we really want, that's when all the magic happens. And our collaboration came out of that. It's like, we have so much fun together. We ought to create something just because
yeah,
this is too damn much fun not to, right?
absolutely.
And that's a
Absolutely.
big one. Business should be fun. It doesn't have to be work.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to do something a little different. So are you open to playing
Uh-oh.
with me a bit?
Okay, here we go.
Well, so here's the caveat. You're gonna have to read the chat because I can't read the chat for whatever reason. Mine won't come up. But
Okay.
I just want to get a sense of some of the passion projects um, that people are working on or that they're interested in exploring.
Yeah, so please, if you'll just type and just something short, because I'm trying to read these here on my little phone. But yeah, do you have a passion project you're working on, or do you have a passion project that you've been procrastinating on because you haven't yet found the
Mm,
way in your life to bring that forward? What is your passion project or your passion dream that maybe you're thinking about on Sunday afternoons when everything else in your life is caught up? Right? Or does that even happen? Or is your passion project just to sit down and figure out what your passion project is?
now that we're having this conversation, I'm thinking about my entrepreneur journey. And had you asked me, would I be talking about dreams and passions and joy like a few years ago, I would have said, you're crazy. I'm going to be talking about sales and marketing and some kind of leadership. And now it, this is the manifestation of that conversation of No, I'm talking about joy. We're talking about that's
Yeah.
it. And if you aren't talking about that, then that's where your opportunity is, because we're supposed to find the things that bring us joy in this life. I think if I learned anything from working with cancer patients and their families, it was that, like, we're all transitioning at some point. So why are we postponing this? Yeah,
Yes, stop
yeah,
postponing the joy. Absolutely. Isn't that like the thing we put off?
yeah.
Like, oh, but I got to get this done, and aren't I important, or I got to look good, or this has got my house has got to look good, or my, whatever. You're
Yeah.
right. It's the joy that keeps getting pushed back and building a life around that. Well, I want to welcome Eric and Teresa and Marilyn. And my chats aren't moving for some reason. So if you're typing it, it's not coming up, so type it again maybe. But we'd like to know what your passion project is. What are you working on that you'd like to bring forward that maybe we could help you with, or whatever, because that's the program we're working on. And
Yes.
you told me to at some point bring up passion and bondage. So let's just go
Let's go. I have no
there.
idea what's going to come out of this.
So he was yesterday we were talking and Donnie was talking about, it's like the passion is the thing that always gets pushed back because we do what we're supposed to do and we do what we have to do and we do it. I said it's almost like our passion's in bondage. Cute title, but hey, so is your passion in bondage? What is it wanting for you to do to free it? Right?
you know, I um I think about I think about what that actually means, or what that looks like for me and what it possibly looks like for other people. And what comes to mind is just not knowing how to give myself permission to say, "Hey, this is really important to me," or "This is something that I'm interested in pursuing," or something that I want to do. And so it, even though I want to articulate it and I want to come out and I want to experience it in my life and see it in my life, um, there's there's almost kind of like the parent or the authoritarian or somebody just saying, "No, you can't do that, you can't do that." And so that's where the bondage piece comes in. I think I don't want to make that assumption, and I'm just wondering if other people experience that as well. Yeah,
Hmm.
like what was in bondage for you as you started pursuing your work?
Well, yeah. So I was listening to you, and what was coming up for me was that I had a story in my family line that it had to be work. You had to work hard. If you
Mm.
want to get ahead, you have to work hard. And so things like this come really easy for me to get on here and just have a conversation and bring other people in, and we all move our energy together and we have great ahas. That's really easy for me. And because it's easy for me, I just figured it can't be that. I need to go learn all these other things. Right? And so coming home to myself for me has looked like, oh my gosh, it's the things that I'm naturally good at, that are naturally easier for me, that I enjoy. Those are the things I probably came here to do instead of, all these other certifications I think I need and degrees. And at what point have we done enough training, and are we good enough and ready enough to just go ahead and jump out there, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I love that you used the phrase "coming back home to myself," because I mean that's really what it is. Is you're just coming back home to your truth, your excitement, your dreams, your desires, and it's easy to kind of put them aside because of our conditioning or our upbringing, or the the logical, rational mind was like, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing things that are fun and exciting." And yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
you should.
Yes, you should. Bonnie commented here. She said, bondage. I spent years disappointing my parents, squandering my intelligence and my education, quote unquote. It
Yeah.
finally wore them out and they left me alone. Yeah, I moved away from home before I was even old enough to sign an apartment lease. I literally found the first guy that could get me out of there and got out of there because I was so tired of being pushed to have the A's and the achievements and I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But that overachiever's still in there. I still hear the parent's voice, and they've been dead for years, and God love them. They did the best they could, and they did teach me how to aspire high. But yeah, exactly. At some point, who are we living for? Are we living to please the parents? Are we living to please the voices in our head? Or are we finally living for what our joy is and giving ourselves that permission, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating to hear other people's stories because I didn't, although my parents, they pushed me to do well and they wanted me to have a good education, they weren't the ones who were saying, you have to do this. It was me. Mine was self-inflicted. Mine was
Mm.
self-inflicted. Um, and so, like, I appreciate hearing both sides, even though like I can't relate to the side where I had a parent saying, "Nope, you need to be studying all the time, etc." Um, but on the other end, when it's self-inflicted, like at some point you have an aha of like, "Oh shoot, I don't have anybody else to blame but myself." And my parents would tell me that ever since I was a little kid, they would always say, "You are the hardest on yourself more than anybody else. So I don't
Mhm.
see why you're even concerned about what other people are thinking because you having to deal with the saboteurs who are in your head." So I'm like,
Mhm.
I get it. I get it.
Well, and so there's the voices in our head, there's the voices we may or may not have grown up with, but then there's also all this, whether it's real or imagined, social
Yeah,
pressure.
sure.
There's, oh, I need to look like I have it all together for the boss or for the community or for the leadership roles that I have or for the clients that I serve, or there's always somebody that we need to look like we have it all together for. And that's that pretending to have your shit together piece. And we can
Yeah.
get so caught up in that we don't have time or space to pursue our passion. And you and I talked about a little bit how we create these different boxes that we put ourselves in. I've got to be this ideal this and this achieving that and relaxation's over here in this little box and play is way back there, and it's really about starting to break those walls down and show up with all of ourself everywhere we go. That's the empowerment piece. That's when we're our most powerful, is when we're showing up fully, right? And
Yep.
that brings up all kinds of uncomfortable stuff because there's not necessarily all of that I want to share with everybody. So then it's the discernment of, well, I'm still all fully present, but I don't need to necessarily share as much of that, maybe.
Yeah.
Or how does that look for you?
Yeah. So working at the company that I'm with now has actually been um, a part of my healing and didn't realize it was a part of my healing until we started having these types of conversations because it's an engineering company. I don't have any kind of computer science background, engineering degree, anything. I've been in training and development and that's my role. But people are talking to me about routers and switches and security and I'm pretty much forced every day to realize um, just how much knowledge I lack in so many different areas of my life. And I started doing some work with these PhD students whose focus is on various chronic diseases. So they're telling me about everything that's happening around their research, and I'm listening to them. And there are moments where I'm listening to them, and I'm like, "Holy crap, I'm dumb!" Like I'm just dumb in comparison to all of these people, and yet uh, I have I it forces me to acknowledge where I bring value and where I can make a difference in their professional life or their personal life. Um, and it also forces me to say, hey, I'm not a know-it-all. I don't need to pretend like I know it all. I don't need to have it all together. And sometimes I literally don't know, and I have to say out loud, I don't know. And we just aren't taught to say I don't know in the education system, in society, because we're always supposed to have the answer, and that's just not the case. And we do a disservice to ourselves, and we do a disservice to the other people that we're interacting with, because then they have to perpetuate that they know when they might not know either.
Yeah. Yes, and the minute somebody says, excuse me, I have no idea what you're talking about, there's almost always somebody else that goes, oh, good, I thought it was just me, right?
Yep.
But we're all so busy pretending to have our shit together that who's going to be the one that's going to stand up and go, all right, I don't have it
Oh,
together.
that's me. I got the done, Ted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I'm the one to do it. And I think it's good though, because I think the more we actually are willing to show our vulnerabilities, and there's also been like a piece for me where if you're the expert in the room, you're supposed to know. So admitting that you don't know, all of a sudden you've notched yourself down a bit on the expertise rung.
Yeah.
But that's ridiculous because we don't all know everything about everything. I may be an expert in one aspect and completely clueless in another.
Yeah.
So the more we can openly admit, I have no idea what they're talking about, the
Yeah.
more we can all learn. Because once somebody asks the question, everybody else starts taking notes, right? That acted like they knew what was going on.
Well, and just think about people's frame of mind and their well-being, to be able to let that pressure to release that pressure from themselves, and to just be able to have the space and the ability to say, oh man, it's so good not to have an answer, and it's so good to pretend like I don't have an answer. And after you sent me the message this morning about the area near you, I started thinking about the mental health kind of situation that's happening across the country. Um, and I genuinely believe that that's a part of the discussion that's just not happening. Is we we're not healthy in that way because we aren't um, acknowledging our humanity, in the sense that um, we aren't appreciating that other people can fill in the gaps where we might not have the answer.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, thank you, Nair. She says great subject. And you guys who are joining us, welcome to those who've just signed on, Sherry, James. If I missed your name, I apologize. We've asked you to please write if you have a passion project, entrepreneurial, life passion, something that you've kind of not been getting around to launching yet, or you're trying to launch and you're getting stuck. Any questions you have around that, or any way that we could help you? We're all about, it's time to stop pretending and start launching our passion, bring the joy back in our lives. And so we'd love your input on that. Yeah, the mental health thing. So what Donnie's talking about is very close to where I live is a community that was identified as the teen suicide capital of the nation. It's a very affluent community on its surface, yet when you get to look a little deeper, there's a lot of debt there, there's a lot of pain there, there's a lot of addiction there, there's a lot of stuff going on. And it shows up in our young people because the more we try to look good on the outside and then have all our drama going on the inside, the kids really get lost in all that. And they get pushed really hard. You got to make the good grades. You got to get into the best schools. We've got image, 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 right? And so while everybody's pretending to have their shit together, the kids are like having a meltdown. And so they just check out. They don't have any way to deal with that. And so there's a big price that we're paying in terms of our youth with this pretending to have our shit together. And Donnie was bringing up the mental health, and I don't know if you want to share that you kind of relate to this on a more personal level, Donnie,
Oh
but
yeah.
it is something we need to be talking about for these kids and kind of knock it off as adults, right? Act like adults and just start to own ourselves, warts and all, and admit our shortcomings and stop trying to be perfect on the outside.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. It's fascinating. The more I talk about it, the lighter it becomes for me, and it's like, oh yeah, it's nice to be able to talk about this so freely and openly. So thanks for creating the space to do that. Um,
Thank you.
so in high school, I dealt with a lot of anxiety and depression, and didn't realize how bad it was until I got to college and contemplated suicide um, for a long time, and then I had a panic attack, which I thought was a heart attack, and my coach at the time rushed me to the emergency room. And at the time, I was at Stanford. I was one of their pole vaulters. I was pursuing medicine and thought I was going to be a physician. So all of this external, all of this external pressure in the kind of Ivy League environment to perform and have your shit together and uphold this image, and then kind of the internal pressure for myself of I can't let anybody know that I'm falling behind. Um,
Hmm.
it ended up coming to a point where I went to the hospital and then I checked myself into a psych ward for a week. And that was the best experience that I could have had, hands down, because it reminded me, hey, I'm human. Two, it's okay to say I'm struggling. Um, three, I got to see other people in there who were just regular human beings, but they were having a hard time too. And we don't necessarily promote talking to a therapist or talking to a counselor, just talking to a friend and relying on people to help us kind of navigate our tough times. And so after I got out of the hospital, I started seeing a therapist regularly, which was extremely helpful. But I was also a peer health educator in one of the dorms at the time. And after that, more and more of the students started coming to talk to me because they knew that I knew what they were going through. And we would just have these great conversations around, oh, I'm lonely, or I'm sad, or, I'm not doing as well as I thought I could be or I would be, and I need some help. But I don't necessarily know how to talk about it. I don't feel like I can go talk to my family about it. Nobody else seems to be having a problem, and so maybe it's just me. And what we used to call it was the Stanford Duck syndrome. So, on the surface, everything looks like it's smooth sailing, and you're just moving along, and then underneath, your feet are just paddling away to keep you above the
Yeah.
surface. And that's the type of thing that I think it's important to have that conversation for our mental health and for kids' well-being and for people to know that, hey, it's okay to reach out and get help. But I also think that until you start having those types of conversations, you can't really know what your joy is, because you're pretending to be something you're not, or you're pretending to do things that you genuinely don't enjoy. Like, at the time, I loved running track. I loved being a pole vaulter, but I had two knee surgeries, and it was just really difficult trying to come back from those. And so after I got out of the hospital, I called my coach up and just said, "Hey, I can't do this. Like, mentally, I can't do it. Physically, I can't do it. I just don't want to do it." So there was this lull where it's like, all right, I've given all this time to pre-med and I've given all this time to track, and now I'm not doing either one of those anymore. So now what the hell do I do?
Yeah.
Oh, now what do I do? And luckily, when I was in high school, my high school drama teacher told me, at some point, just continue pursuing theater. Uh, And that was the moment where I declared theater as my major and just completed that. But I'm so glad that I had that to go back to, because that was something that it interested me enough to want to pursue it, and I was having a lot of fun doing it. Um, but I also didn't know how I was going to make a career out of it, and so it was kind of this whole exploration phase of all right, I know this is something that is important to me, and can I just let that be enough for right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've hit on several things that welcome to you who are just joining us. You've hit on several things in your journey through your shift that are part of what we're going to be helping people with as they want to launch their passion project, because
Yeah.
there is there is all the time and energy that we expend doing all the things we think we're supposed to do, pretending to have our shit together, all of that. Then there's the moment where it kind of falls apart, something happens, and like, okay, I don't have my shit together. Whether you
Yeah.
check yourself into a hospital, whether you just plug into Netflix for a month and nobody sees you
Yep.
anymore, we all go to this place where it's like, I can't pretend anymore.
Yeah.
And that looks like the falling apart, but it's actually the power place, because the amount of energy that we expend pretending to have our shit together and not even pursuing something that brings us joy, but we're just all for the sake of just pretending to have our shit together so it looks okay
Yeah.
on the outside and so we can keep up with life and whatever. Like, that takes an immense amount of energy. So when we finally go, okay, I don't have it together, oh wow, that feels so good. I can breathe. I'm not exhausted anymore. I'm not in the gerbil in the wheel anymore. And then there is this space and energy and room to breathe where we can go, ah, now what do I want? What do I
Yeah.
really want? And
Yeah.
you got to lay all that out in that story really well. So I just wanted to point out, like, those are the stages in the program that you and I are designing that we want to help people move through.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that comes up when it finally all falls apart, and my life did a few years ago, and I'm so grateful now, but I wasn't really feeling that then. But like, then also all of our shadow stuff comes up. Like, we don't even realize we have it, but all these stories about uh, if I'm not a good daughter and a good career woman and doing that successfully and on the air and all these things that I was before, if I don't have all those roles anymore, who am I? And so there's a lot of falling apart on the inside as well as the world falling apart around us, right?
Yeah. There's there's the falling apart. There's the the identity crisis piece. there's there's the exploration piece, and then there's the oh shit, I don't have a vision. I was just talking to my friend 2 days ago about this, because we were talking about everything that was going on um, with the government and politics and all of this stuff. And at one point we got to, okay, well, we know this isn't working or this doesn't feel good, but what does good look like, or what do we want it to look like now, and how do we begin talking about that? And what came out of that conversation is, oh, holy crap, I don't know how to create a vision. I don't even know what a vision looks like, if I'm honest about it. And that's similar to what I think um, a lot of I don't want to say that. I think that is a key part to bringing your passion project to life, is being able to identify the elements of the vision as you move forward, or just giving some time to thinking through the pieces of, right, okay, what does this new vision look like for me? So I love that. I love
Well, and
that.
as our mutual coach of past years, Oge Okosieme, says, it's building the plane while you fly it. And so if you
Yes.
can't get all the pieces together, it takes an incredible amount of, and this is why it's got to be your passion project, because you either have to be out of your mind or really passionate about it to go, we can just build the plane while we fly it. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how much legwork we put into planning and preparation and training and getting all our ducks lined up in a row, there is a moment where we have to leap of faith. It's the leap
Yeah.
of faith moment. And all that planning might make it a little bit easier, but it's still going to take a lot of courage to take that leap of faith and say, I'm worth it. I can do this. I'm going to jump off that cliff and pursue my passion.
Yeah.
And so it needs to be a passion, you know? And it's so funny how we will jump quicker for something that's not quite our passion because we're not as invested. Oh,
Yeah.
sure, I'll go try that because if it all falls apart, I'll just come back to what I'm doing now because I don't really care much anyway. Well,
Yeah.
that's not living your passion. That's like living this, wonder why I'm never happy, right? If you're going to jump off a cliff anyway, jump off a cliff for the thing that really lights you up.
So what's your passion right now?
Oh, we're doing it. This is it.
Uh,
This is it.
okay.
Co-creating things that help people live their dreams because I'm living mine. Yeah, this is it. And doing it with people that are like-spirited, like-minded. You and I have so much fun creating this program and helping people pursue their passion is just going to be a blast. I can hardly believe it's work, but I'm redefining work. How about you?
I am too. Yeah. Yeah, work has a whole new meaning for me.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, I see some new people signing in. So hi, Johanna and Jody and Kathleen. We have asked you to please type what your passion project is that you're either currently working on or something that you are maybe procrastinating on while you're getting your ducks in a row, or maybe you're just pretending to know and you don't know. So where are you at with your passion project? Because Donnie and I are working on a program to help people launch their passion projects, and we want to know how we can help you and do some of that tonight if you'd like. So thanks for joining us.
While they type in some answers, um, what is one area where you find people get stuck as they're pursuing their passion projects, and what do you do to help them move out of it?
That's a good one. We have been doing workshops and things around here around manifestation language and how the self-talk that we do that sabotages our progression or that keeps us stuck in the same thing we've always been stuck in and not getting different results. So I love doing that kind of work, coaching with people one-on-one, picking up on their language, tracking it into their thoughts, figuring out where it came from, going back to the beginning and redoing that. So that's definitely one. But you know, it's interesting. Everybody likes to talk about manifestation. That's like the icing on the cake. Oh, I want to manifest. I want to manifest. I want to manifest.
Yeah.
If we don't first come home to ourselves and give ourselves this nice deep breath and really start to take good care of ourselves and listen to our guidance about why am I here? What do I really want? Then we can be busy out there manifesting for years and wonder why our life brings us no satisfaction.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I find myself redirecting the conversations back to, well, that's about self-love. That's not even about manifestation. That's about how are we, self-love is the foundation on which we're building all these passions. And we can be the greatest manifestors in the world, but if we aren't loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, listening to ourselves, I kind of think it's a waste. So that's definitely a key early component in the program from my perspective, because I think it's a game changer. What about you? Same question back to you.
You know, I go back and forth because there's one side of me and that I'm beginning to appreciate more from working with engineers that's very kind of linear and practical. Like, all right, help me get out of the woo woo and give me some real kind of grounded language that I can use to bring this to life. Um, and so I love being able to help people simplify the language because language is very important. Like I worked as a professional actor and we were literally taking playwrights' words off the page, internalizing them, personalizing them, and then saying them out loud to create this whole world. So when I think about creation and creating world, like it's real for me, because of my experience as an actor. That said, it's easy. I think it's easy to get lost in the idea of manifesting and the amazingness of it. But then when it actually comes to understanding what that means, there's usually like this leap that people have to make, and it's really hard to make. And so one of the things I'm finding for myself is, oh, I need to find a roadmap to help make this a little easier, a little more grounded, that people can use so that they have stepping stones to say, all right, here's my thought or my idea, and here's what I need to do to bring that thought or that idea to real life where I can see it and touch it and smell it and experience it on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I think one of my favorite places to start with it is just to
Hmm.
say that we are always manifesting. We
Yeah.
can't not manifest every single thing that we see. How healthy our body is, how we feel, how we perceive the world, what's showing up in our life, who our partner is. Like we are always seeing evidence of our vibration reflected back to us in terms of what's showing up in our life. So it's not even about how to learn how to manifest. It's really an ongoing, lifelong journey of, is what I'm manifesting aligned with who I want to be? And if it's not, what is it showing me about how I'm seeing myself, how I'm talking to myself, how I'm talking to the world? Like if everything is evidence, then how am I interpreting the evidence? And what can that
Yeah.
tell me about my own stuff? So it's more of like become a lifelong game for me. It's like, oh wow, if it's all really my creation, then how in the world, what was I thinking when, when this showed up, right?
Well, and that's when we get to take a different approach to it or put on a different perspective of, okay, I've been having a difficult time around this or been struggling with this. What would happen if I looked at this from the lens of, this is a catalyst, or here's an opportunity for me to play a little more. Here's an opportunity for me to be a detective or an explorer and really dive into it a little more from a lighter place versus
Yeah,
this dark, kind of heavy shadow place.
absolutely. I mean, because it's all, it's funny. I didn't always laugh at it, but now I kind of can't stop. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, really, Cheryl? Are you still? Are we still there? I really thought we had dealt with this already, but there it is again.
I know that one.
Yeah. And if it's either laugh or cry, I'll laugh. I'm not really into suffering anymore. Oh. Well, we haven't really had anybody weigh in with their passion project, but that's okay. We're glad you're
Yeah.
joining us anyway, and let us know what you think about the video and if there's anything that we can share with you that would help you around launching your vision or your dream, or maybe something that's manifesting in your life right now that you'd like to shift. Maybe even something around that language or, whatever's on your mind.
I have a question because this came to mind. Um, did you ever have a moment, that moment where you hear people talking about passion and joy, and they sound like great buzzwords, and sometimes maybe you get the eye roll, like, oh God, this fool is talking about this. Um, and then what comes to mind is you think, oh, I actually really don't know what my passion is, or I don't know what my dream is, or I don't know what brings me joy, and that can be depressing. Let's just call it what it
Yes.
is. It can be it can be depressing. It can be disappointing. It can be uh, um, disheartening. And I wanted to find out what your experience was when you had that moment, and what did you do to help you shift out of that moment?
I think for me it was when I found myself divorced and I didn't want it. It was a divorce I didn't want.
Mm,
And I had built my whole life around that. I had all these dreams, and then it all kind of crashed. And I mean, I even felt like the house that I'm in right now was a consolation prize because it wasn't the house that I was going to grow old in with him. It was the
yeah.
house I got when I didn't get to stay in that house, right? So absolutely. I think when we go through a major life crisis, especially one we didn't consciously ask for or see coming, it's easy to go, wow, do I even want to start to dream again? Because I just had my dream fall apart. So,
Okay.
and I think it's important that we give ourselves whatever we need to get through that. If that's happening, is like, I needed to cry the tears. I needed to go through that whole grief process, all the 7 steps of grief or whatever they say. I needed to go through the whole thing. I was angry and then I was sad and then there comes the time where we just get sick of sitting on the couch and it's like, I want to have a life again. I'm done. Enough Twinkies or what, I'm done. And and for me, then it's just getting back out in the world and noticing what catches my attention. Or for me, it's been coming full circle back to my broadcasting. It was the great love that I did that when the broadcasting industry changed radically, it wasn't fun anymore. And so I didn't have that anymore.
Mm,
And it became about redesigning how can I broadcast with current technology and get back to doing what I love because that's what I love. And so, and I had no idea what that would look like, but it was just sticking with some of the things that were coming back up in my life and going, I want that again. I want the relationship. I want it to look like this time. And the things that I thought weren't important, they're important. They're at the top of the list now. And, so for me, it's just a journey back to myself from whatever funky place I've gone to. How about for you?
Before I go there, I want to just pull out some things that you said because it's a beautiful process. The engineer. It's a beautiful process, but I also think there are important stages that people go through. So one of the stages that I heard you talk about was and maybe this is my own stuff. This is the word I brought up this morning was around wallowing. Um,
Yes,
so
I
there's
needed
this
to
period,
wallow.
yeah, there's this period of wallowing and having this woe is me moment, and like everybody goes through it. It's great, and here's why it's great. Because when you give yourself kind of permission, when you give yourself permission to wallow, you're allowing yourself to just experience all of the emotions and all of the feels, and you're not cutting yourself off from it. So there's
Hmm.
that piece. The second piece was around distraction. Sometimes you just need to veg out on the sofa and watch a lot of Netflix and whatever other trashy TV, Housewives of some city, or Bachelor, Bachelorette, RuPaul's Drag Race. It doesn't matter. And then, but you can't stay in the wallowing and distraction. And then the third piece is that realization of, oh, I think I'm ready to re-engage. And so you engage with people and you engage in things and you engage in activities in new ways. And it's really about putting on your explorer cap again and exploring these new possibilities of,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm in a place where my life is going to look different and I have no clue what that's going to look like, but I'm just going to give myself some time and some space to figure out what this looks like. And so yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. So we didn't know we were going to include the steps to how to get back to finding what your passion is if you don't know, but there you
Yeah.
go. They're on here now. So perfect. So how do you find your way back when you found yourself derailed and like, I mean, you admitted recently, I'm not sure in some areas that I know what my joy looks like. How do you go about figuring that out again when you've changed and you're not sure what that is?
So one of the things I shared with Cheryl the other day is there are areas of my life where I feel extremely wise, and then there are areas of my life where I feel like I'm a toddler or a teenager. And I'm finding that those areas of my life are now the areas that are most interesting to me. So, for instance, financially, I've just been a mess. I haven't taken care of myself the way that I should have. And now I'm at this place of, oh, I want to be more financially independent and more financially responsible. And I don't exactly know what that looks like, but I'm willing to take some time to learn and figure out what that looks like. So I guess um, there was that process for me of the grieving process. First, I was frustrated about it, and then I was angry about it, and then I was disappointed in myself and sad about it because it's like, how could I do this? And I put all this pressure on John, and he's been taking care of me, and and it just didn't feel good. But I also needed to give myself the permission to say, hey, this is where I am. So then after that, I had to take some time to think, all right, so what does financially independent and financially responsible actually mean to me? And what does that look like? And what types of things would I be doing? Would I be investing a certain amount of money or setting a certain amount of money aside in my bank account? Would I not go and spend money that I have, but that could be going towards other things for a trip that we're planning or for the house or, you know, just for, splurging on myself rather than just kind of being careless and thoughtless about it. And it's such an empowering place to be in, even though I'm not where I want to be. It's like, oh, this is the first time where I genuinely feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and feel like I have some kind of direction versus spinning on the same hamster wheel of, oh, I don't have enough money, or I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And it's like, okay, I'm tired of that. I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, the cool thing that I heard, well, all of that was cool, but one of the interesting things I heard in what you were saying, so it's the place that's bringing you the most joy and
Mm,
adventure because it's the
hmm.
area that you see the most capacity for growth. And so you're
Yep.
like, cool, I'm going to jump in and learn about this. And we can't do that if we're pretending we have our shit together and already have it all figured out. Like
Exactly.
that is where we block all our joy, because if I'm in this
Exactly.
stage of pretending, then I'm not getting to have all the fun, right? I love that.
Exactly. Exactly. Hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We have some new people that have just joined in. We've been on here for quite a while. We're coming on about an hour, so I guess we'll start to wrap this up. Thank you for joining us if you have tonight, and we will continue this conversation in the comments. So let us know what your passion project is. Let us know how we can help you. Is there anything else coming up for you that you want to say before we wrap up, Donnie?
Yeah, Cheryl and I, we were joking um, earlier this morning as we're putting together this program because we kept saying we have no idea what the end result of this program is going to look like, but we're having a lot of fun in the process of designing it. And now, at just having this conversation with you, I'm so thankful to be having this experience with you and to be working on this with you because it really is just about the joy, and the end result is going to be whatever it's going to be. But um, I'm really diving into the process of it because I'm learning so much in the process of
Yeah, it's really fun creating together. And we're doing it where we have a framework that's fluid so that we know there's these key components to it, and then the rest is what you bring. So it's
it.
all going to be about you and what you bring, what your passion projects are, what your if you want to figure out what your passion project is and then get started on it. I mean, we'll even go there with you. So it's not like you even have to have anything figured out to work with us. It's really going to be about giving yourself a space and a commitment and some time to rediscover your joy and come and play with us, because through play and creativity, all the rest of it is just waiting to show up. So it'll be fun to have that come out together. Just as much fun as we're having putting the program together, you guys will have with us birthing your creative passion project, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Donnie, for taking the time to do this with me tonight. It's always so much fun.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. I'm looking forward to our next one.
Yeah, me too. So we will be doing this again, and we like Wednesday nights. So we'll see you guys probably in a couple of weeks. We'll do this all over again with some other crazy topic that pops up for us. All right. Well, thank you so much, and stay in touch with us on Facebook with your comments. And we're also going to post this on YouTube, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Good night, Donnie.
Bye, Sheryl.